Welcome to the Left of Str8 Show, your one-stop destination for intriguing conversations with extraordinary individuals who are boldly navigating life outside the conventional norms. Our host, Scott Fullerton, is thrilled to embark on this journey of discovery with all of you. The Left of Str8 Show, we believe that every person's story is unique, and it's our mission to showcase the diversity of human experiences. We bring you the untold stories of fascinating people who identify as LGBT+ and allies, pushing boundaries, breaking stereotypes, and making a positive impact in our communities. On this show, we bring you a diverse lineup of inspiring guests, from activists to artists, and entrepreneurs to entertainers, and everything in between. We dive deep into their personal journeys, discovering the pivotal moment that has shaped their lives and careers. You can expect thought-provoking discussions on a wide range of topics, from LGBTQ rights, social justice to arts, culture, mental health, and more. Our guests are change makers who share their insights, challenges, and triumphs, igniting conversation that promotes empathy, understanding, and love. So whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or an ally looking to expand your knowledge and show your support, the Left of Str8 Show is for you. Together, we can build bridges of understanding and acceptance, celebrating the beauty of what makes us all unique. So sit back, grab a drink, and get ready for the show.
Well, hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Left of Str8 Show interviews, where we celebrate the vibrancy and diversity of our LGBTQ community and, of course, our fantastic straight allies. I'm your host, as always, Scott Fullerton, and I'm ever honored to be able to chat with some amazing celebrities and personalities from the worlds of entertainment, foodies, music, books, and advocacy. And I'm excited to have the incredibly talented Mark Byers with me in studio. Mark is a dynamic force in the music industry, known for his work on RuPaul's Drag Race, as well as his contributions to Good Mythical Morning, The Farewell, and many other great things. As a Los Angeles-based songwriter and producer, Mark has been creating captivating pop songs for artists, drag queens, and TV and film productions for over a decade. His expertise and flair for music have not only entertained audiences, but also significantly impacted the music scene. He's worked with artists from our Ohio legend Nina West, to everybody's Mama RuPaul, to Neil Patrick Harris, and so many more. I'm so excited to talk to him, so in a minute, get ready to give a big Left of Str8 Show welcome to the handsome and talented Mr. Mark Byers. But first, take a look. There you go.
Thank you for being a friend. The biggest gift would be for me. And the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. I must confess, bro, yes, I wanna be your lover. Take a chance, hold up like no other. On the dance floor, get down. Hold tight, I never let you down. My love, definitely the key. Like what you meant, I'm on bed, that me. Loving you, not like your brother. Oh yeah, wanna be your lover. Looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead.
Go, shorty, it's your birthday. We gon' party like it's your birthday. We gon' sip Bacardi like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give up, it's not your birthday. You can find me in the club, bottle full of bone. Mama, I got what you need if you need to fill a buzz.
You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow.
When you want it the most, there's no easy way out. When you're ready to go, and your heart's left without. Don't give up on your faith. Love comes to those who believe it, and that's the way it is.
It's a cool place, and they say it gets gets colder. You're bundled up now, wait till you get older. But the media man,
Bite your lip. Ask for a call while you ride that dick. You really ain't never got him fucking for a thing. He already made his mind up before he came.
Tinky Winky, Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Dipsy, La La, Ho, Teletubby, Teletubby, say hello.
Look, I need a hard hit, I need a deep stroke, I need a Henny drink, I need a weed smoke. Not a garden snake, I need a king cobra with a hook in it, hope it lean over. He got some money, then that's where I'm headed. Pussy A1, just like his credit. He got a beard, well I'm tryna wet it. I let him taste it, now he diabetic. I don't wanna.
And we are back. Mark Byers, welcome to the Left of Str8 Show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. And for that
I'm excited.
spectacular intro.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. You deserve every accolade that is out there. I'm excited to have you. Of course, we got introduced by our buddy, Mike Zara, of course, a good friend of yours, now a friend of mine, I'm happy to say. So excited to talk about you and your work in music, and you've worked with so many incredible people. So I am a fan, my friend.
Amazing. Thank you. And thank you to Mike Zara for the referral. Mike
There you
said such great things about me on this show, and I'm very grateful. What an
He sure
awesome
did.
guy. Yeah.
Well, we played those mashups right before we came on. I got to tell you, I'm such a fan. They're so much fun. I am a huge superhero geek, so X-Men and Be My Lover was my favorite. Matching WAP and Teletubbies, WAP and Teletubbies, that was inspired. I love those.
Thank
Are
you.
those just fun little palate cleansers for you, or talk about how those came about?
Well, I wanted to do something stupid with no stakes, and I think that comes across. Also, I just generally struggle with social media and like having something that I think is worthwhile to say about myself, and my experience of life and what I'm doing with music. So I feel like it felt like a good solution to just start throwing songs together in a stupid way that was like entertaining for me or funny or just like poking fun at how genres take themselves seriously. I don't know. I started having fun with it, and I had so many ideas come easily, so I was like, this should be my social media.
You succeeded well, my friend. They are absolutely hilarious. So you guys got to check them out. We'll give the link at the end of the show here. So much fun. I always ask my new guests 2 questions. So we'll start off with those for you. First question is always, tell me a little bit about where you grew up and what kind of a kid were you growing up?
So I grew up in Cincinnati, and we have the Ohio thing in common.
There you go. Opposite corner. I'm up near Youngstown area, but we got
Yeah,
that going for us.
a different flavor of Ohio, but still. Yeah, and I also went to boarding school in New York City as a kid for 5th to 8th grade, so I count part of my childhood as being there, being raised by teachers, which is an interesting scenario. And what kind of kid was I, right, is the other part of that question. I was kind of a space cadet, definitely lost in thought a lot of the time in my own world. I think I got a lot of feedback from teachers that like it always seemed like I wasn't paying any attention, but then they would ask me questions and I would have a lot of insightful things to say. So I don't know, I guess it comes across like there's nothing going on, but there is something rattling around in there. And my parents and brother, the whole family is musical, so I was definitely a musical kid. I played violin, and the boarding school I mentioned was a choir school. That was like the point of going there, was to take part in a choir that sang at a world-class church in on Fifth Avenue. It was a pretty insane kind of experience. But anyway, so yeah, spacey and musical, I guess I would say in summary.
I like that though. That's kind of, I mean, it's a kind of a weird place to have to cut your singing chops, I guess, for some people maybe, but for a lot of people, that's where they learned to sing, was in the church. So I guess for some people,
Yeah,
it's not unusual at all.
yeah. And we did go through, I mean, my parents kind of forced me to go because of the musical experience they knew I would have. it was like 400 plus pieces, I think, that we sang every year. So yeah, so it was not just like the occasional hymn here and there. It was like a very serious Episcopalian tradition of music with different pieces in every service. So we were like sight reading music nonstop and relearning stuff that we had sung last year to do again.
Nice. That's how I grew up, was Episcopalian when I was a kid. That's what my mom took me to all the time. I haven't stepped foot in a church in a
Nice.
long time, except for weddings and special occasions. But yeah, that's how I
Yeah,
grew up, as Episcopalian. I remember that well. Well, very
cool.
cool. And second question I'd like to ask everybody, talk to me. You're an open and proud gay man. Talk about, when did you first come out to yourself, and when did you feel like you first started finding your LGBTQ tribe?
I came out to myself maybe starting when I was 12-ish. And then by 16, I was like, okay, this is going on, and I am sure of it now. I'm one of those people that I sort of was like othering in my mind before that. Uh, so, yeah, I came out officially to other people at like 17/18.
Right.
Uh, and then tribe, well, part of my coming out process was going to a gay youth group called Cincinnati Youth Group, which
Hmm.
hopefully still exists. It was
Indeed.
interesting because they just like met at a church and it was called Cincinnati Youth Group, so there was no indication really outwardly that it was a gay group, but
Right.
it was pretty much a support group for like high school age kids, like anyone under 18 or 19, who just needed to figure themselves out and have some like, there were gay leaders, so there was like, we had adult role models, which was very helpful.
Right.
Yeah, so that kind of was a tribe in a certain way. It was like my first experience with like interacting with other queer people in a public way, you know, where it was just on the table, like, we're all queer here and we're all trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
I
um
remember that.
and then yeah, that group is great. I hope it still exists. I so in yeah, in high school I didn't have much of a tribe other than that, but I guess I picked up people along the way in
Right.
my
As you
school
do.
years in Boston, and then I moved to LA like 15 years ago now, so it's been kind of, yeah, I don't know. Things are always changing, and the meaning of like tribe to me is always changing, and what I want out of the tribe. But
Sure.
I
No, it
would
makes
say,
sense. Well,
yeah.
I'll have to call my friend Kelly. My very first guest on the show 8 years ago was Kelly McCracken, who lives in Cincinnati now. She was from Youngstown area. She's one of the original plaintiffs in the Bergefell case for the marriage equality, her and her wife.
Hmm,
So, and she's down there, and she's a musician down there. So I'll have to ask her if that program still exists. She'll have to be a little spy
cool.
for me. I'll let you know when I find out. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, do some digging. It was like listed in the free in City Beat, the free like
Right?
alternative newspaper. So I found it in there, and I was like, I need this in my life.
Nice. I'm going to reach out to good old Kelly and see what she says. Well, you mentioned Boston. Let's talk about that. You were at University of Cincinnati for a while. Then you went to Berklee School of Music up in Boston, which I love. I have a lot of good friends that have gone there. Of course, on the show, I've had Stuart Taylor went there, Z Machine, a lot of rockers that I know went there. One of my friends, Dennis Drummond from the Youngstown area, fantastic singer and drummer, went on to The Voice. He went to there. So talk to me about your school experiences in both University of Cincy. What did you study there? And then what happened over in Berklee? How was that experience?
Hmm. Well, so I guess I should preface this by saying that I had a foray into electronic music production in high school with a personal challenge project, which was a graduation requirement at my school. So we had to spend like X number of hours, like 30 hours, doing something that we had not done before, that was maybe a creative project or like something that would expand our horizons. So University of Cincinnati for me was like an attempt to escape my musical fate. I was I was doing graphic design there, which I did have a genuine interest in, but it sort of was a safety plan. Like, this has a better guarantee of making me money than a career in music. But it was like the more time I spent on graphic design, the more I wanted time to make music, and the more frustrated I got. So I was like, I'm gonna abort this mission and go to music school. And I wanted a songwriting program, specifically like pop songwriting. And at the time, there was only that one in this country. Like, I was kind of surprised, and there's been a lot more. I think one at USC popped up shortly after, and then there's other ones now, of course. But at the time, it was like everybody had jazz composition, these music conservatories, but people didn't have songwriting as a major. So I applied there and I got in, thank God, because I don't know what else was the plan. And then there was no plan B at that point. And then I learned a ton. I felt like an outcast, outsider type person at Berklee, but I learned a lot. And I'm really grateful for that experience. I think it was totally the right thing to do. And then I moved to New York briefly. And then, LA.
Nice. Now, in your head, were you studying songwriting to be the next big pop, country, whatever singles artist, or did you have in mind movies and scores and themes, and what in your head were you studying? What were you thinking you were going to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought I was going to be an artist. So luckily for me, everything else in my plan was kind of the same. Like, I wanted to write and produce music for myself. So I'm still doing the writing and production and using all of those skills, but it's just not for myself. I felt like I had a lot stronger of a desire to perform. And then I did a bunch in my couple years in New York, but I kind of just there was something I didn't love about it. Like, if I had a show and it would get canceled, I'd be like, oh, thank God.
That's funny.
I don't want to be in the spotlight. And then I started producing for other people, and I was just like, I like this better. And I'm such a perfectionist that performing live really bothers me because I can't tweak everything to perfection and then present it. Like, it all just comes out, and then it's like, well, I mean, that wasn't perfect, and I hate that, and I can't. Like, I would get off stage and be like, what just happened, and what did I do wrong, and what did I want to be doing? And yeah, it was too much overthinking.
That's crazy. I love that you kind of had that kind of realization, though. It's like, maybe I should go someone else's route instead of doing it for me, because if you have a perfectionist attitude, that's tough to be on stage and be perfectionist all the time or do anything. So
I'm sure a lot of performers have that, but it just like, it didn't feel sad to me, I guess, to stop performing. So I was like, all right.
There you go. And talk about your process. I mean, everyone works a lot of different ways. When you're writing songs, do you usually have the lyrics come to mind first and then the music, or vice versa? Or does it kind of depend? And I guess when you're working on other people's projects, they have to bring that to you before you can kind of get an idea what it's going to be about in your head, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, melody is the most important and always comes to me first. I mean, I might have a shred of a lyric idea, but it doesn't really solidify unless there's a melody that I really want it to go with.
Right.
So, I mean, people, of course, start songs from all different angles, but for me, I'm like, what's the melody doing, though? Because you can get away with a lot of, like, stupid lyrics if the melody's awesome. But yeah, if I'm starting from scratch and a client wants a song to be created, then, like you said, if they have any piece of lyric idea that can steer things somewhere for me, or like any kind of melody idea or song references, like, that helps a ton to have like some sort of confines or something to extrapolate from.
Right. That makes sense. And do you have a certain, you talk about musicality, you played violin. How are you? Have you now automatically kind of picked up other instruments, or can you think of how the other instruments sound in your head while you're doing it? How have you come to kind of learn the different parts of music since you do these huge orchestrations?
Yeah, that's kind of a skill that I just sort of taught myself, but I did take arranging class at Berklee, and I did grow up in a family of string players, and I've gone to see classical music concerts a lot and operas and such. So I think because of that background, if I'm arranging like a big band project or something that's like an orchestral score, it does come fairly naturally as far as the voicing of the different instruments. Like, how does this instrument play, and what is the range, and how can they operate, and what can't they play? Like, how would this part like never be written for an actual like bassoon player, for instance? I mean, I definitely look up some of that stuff. What is the actual range of a bassoon? But yeah, it's a weird skill that I think people just often expect me to know. And I'm
Right.
like, luckily I can do pretty well just fumbling around and making up stuff because I've
Nice.
heard enough of these different kinds of music to figure it out. But I'm definitely not. I mean, there's people who are professional string arrangers and that's all they do. So
Right.
I'm not specializing in it like on that level, but I can definitely get some stuff together that sounds passable, that sounds like this is real, I think.
There you go. I like that. And how did this journey towards like entertainment go specifically? Like working towards television shows, work with the drag artists, things like that, movies. Was that ever part of the plan, or did you kind of fall into it, or what was the first one and kind of got the ball rolling for you with
Uh, it wasn't really part of the plan. I feel like when you live in LA, though, the entertainment industry like sucks you in. So even if you're an accountant or something, it's likely that you'll start working on productions or like, you know, it kind of has a way of finding you. But I met soon after moving to LA, I met a comedian who I partnered up with named Michael Serrato, and we did a bunch of creative work together. He had like some comedy characters that we made music for, and he was very plugged into the entertainment industry as an actor and a writer, and he brought me to a bunch of events where I met people like I met Willem from season 4 of Drag Race at a party that he and I went to, and that kind of is what branched out into all the drag performers for me.
Nice.
So yeah, it kind of just happened, I guess, to answer your question. And I think the gateway was working with Michael.
That's very cool. And Willem is an entry drag too. My good friend Emerson Collins and him are very good friend, and Emerson is obsessed with all things drag. And yeah, he's kind of introduced him to that entire world. So I understand what you're saying there. I love Willem.
Yeah.
Let's go through some of your projects. Let's start. I mean, I'm a huge Neil Patrick Harris fan. You started back in the day with him for his Puppet Dream show, kind of a short-lived fun thing. Talk about how that project came together and what was that like to work on?
That's a good timing for this question because I got into that through Michael, and he was writing on that show. I can't totally remember how it came to fruition for him, but he brought me on. He had been friends with Neil for a while, and Neil has always loved puppets. So I think this idea came about through either Neil pitching it to Henson or Michael and Neil, or anyway, I got brought in because they wanted some music, and I was delighted because what is there to not like about that concept of dreams with puppets in them and music and campiness galore, which is my favorite.
It looked so fun. I was bummed it only didn't last very long, but oh my gosh, the concept was amazing for it. But then, first full circle moment, last year we have Drag Me to Dinner on Hulu and Netflix. I absolutely love that concept, kind of combining all your people together. That was just fun to watch. How much fun was that to work on?
It was super fun. I was pretty removed, well, relatively removed from that process. I never was on set or anything, or I wasn't super involved in the development of it, but I did work directly with Neil on the theme, and the melody was pretty much his idea. He was like, sent me a voice note, and I was like, how about this? And I was like, exactly that. And I can hear, it's like sometimes when people have a musical mind naturally, even if they don't have training or like instrumental skills, they will have an idea and just put it in a voice note or something, and I'm like, yes, I hear all the orchestration. I know exactly where you're going with this. I hear what this song wants. So that was like, it was like that. It was like, I can hear everything that this wants to be, and I agree, and let's do it. So it came together pretty easily. I mean,
Yeah, that
it's
was
short.
actually, no, that was actually one of my questions too. Is what's it like to work with some of these celebrities or performers that do they have that musical mindset? Because of course Neil's obviously very musical and everything from his Broadway and all that. Um, what kind of a plus is that a plus or a minus? Do they kind of tend to give more ideas than you thought, or not enough, or do you kind of feel how does that give or take work, and what's it like working with those musical minds?
It is my favorite actually when someone is pretty musically inclined, and Rhett and Link come to mind, who you mentioned, because they have a lot of ability and they produce demos even for me to sort of run with. Like, they're not meant to be highly polished demos. It's just like, here's the idea, but I can sort of hear it and know exactly what they want. The rest of the instrumentation fills itself out in my mind with no effort. So it is really cool. And then I don't really work with anyone who's incredibly nitpicky. So often what the general gist of my idea is, people are generally like, yes, and they might have a couple notes, but yeah, that's how it works with Rhett and
That's
Link. Like,
nice.
usually I'm on point when I interpret what they wanted from their demo, and then it just is like a fun process.
There you go. That's fantastic and much easier when it all comes together early on like that, for sure. I bet. And
Yeah.
talked about when you're doing something like the drag queens are fun and some is slapstick, some is very straight. What about when you're doing fun things like Rough Night? I mean, I actually saw that. Stellar cast is one of the reasons I saw it. And that's very slapstick, broad comedy. How's that to kind of, do you interpret that theme with the music as well as kind of the scenes, or how does your mind work in something like that?
Well, Rough Night was a very interesting process for me because it existed already, and they maybe had a musical piece in mind, like a part of a song in mind for this club scene where everyone gets wasted, and they couldn't use it, or maybe it wasn't quite the right vibe. So, which I've done work like this a good amount of times where they have, like a song in mind, but then it's like, we can't actually use this song, so let's have something similar. But in this case, I worked with Paul and Lucia, who were directing, or Lucia was directing, and like worked directly with them, which I think is pretty unusual, to create this song for this like party, almost like montage style, like weird whacked out moment. uh and it did
Remember that
take a minute.
scene?
What was that?
So I remember that scene. I did see. I know what you're talking about, actually.
Yeah. So it took a moment. We went through a couple different kind of styles, and it's, I mean, working on something like that is also peculiar from the standpoint of like, it's a song that needs to be high energy and communicate a thing, but it can't be too distracting from what's going on. Anyway, we arrived at a song that I really like though, so that is cool. And those two are great.
Nice. And then you just mentioned Rhett and Link, and talk about that. Good Mythical Morning. Of course, huge on YouTube. I mean, how did that come about? Was it intimidating at all to jump with them, or was it something you're on board early with? Talk about how that project came together, because they had like millions of followers. They're just like huge.
Yeah, I was on board pretty early with them because I had worked with someone who joined their team like very early, who was their pretty much like first person on the team besides the two guys. And now she just like runs everything. She's like a really amazing person. But yeah, I had worked with her at her previous jobs. She had brought me on to like an animation YouTube channel where they made little comedy videos that were sometimes musical. So
nice.
She pitched me to Rhett and Link, and I was like, awesome. And they were already big, but not as superstar status as they are now.
Right. That's awesome though.
Yeah. And they worked with a couple other producers along the way there, but they came back to me a lot, so I'm happy about that. And they're immensely talented, so it's so fun to work with them. Like, honestly, it really is like a dream every time.
That sounds like an amazing collaboration. I love that. Well, I want to get into the world of RuPaul and World of Wonder. Let's go ahead and play a clip. I mean, you worked on Kitty Girl, probably one of the biggest known for that. Let's play a little clip of that, and then we're going to come back and talk about the wonderful World of Wonder that is RuPaul on the other side, okay?
Excellent.
All right, guys, this is Kitty Girl from RuPaul. I'm sure you all know it well. We're talking with my special guests here, and we'll be back on the other side. Listen to Left of Str8 Show right here on Left of Str8.
Indian tonight.
Bollywood in Hollywood.
You know, our lives are like a Bollywood musical.
Because it's an eternal tragedy that we are in love but are forbidden to be together by society. A common Bollywood theme.
No, because we sing and dance a lot.
Oh, hi, I'm Neil. I sleep a lot. And when I dream in puppet.
Neil's Puppet Dreams.
I am singing a love song in a Bollywood musical, singing my thoughts to this Hindu acoustical. I brought puppets to this Indian art form to make sure this song will not cause a shitstorm.
Mr. Who is this queen since I was 17? Don't matter if I'm Prince Siegfried or JB in them red high heels, they still gon' get pictures of that haterade. I'm like, G. Louise, you want a piece of me? I'm Mr. Hard Work, no drama, make jokes, but I love my mama. Yes, I can't see the harm in speaking my mind if I wanna. And with the man on my arm, I'm still an exceptional charm. Like, you want a piece of me? I'm Mr. Ballerino, ignoramus. I'm Mr. Oh my share that dreams is brainless. I'm Mr. Living in a life of sin. I'm Mr. He's too out, now he's too in. A piece of me.
Got my eyes on you, but you're getting kinda blurry. No hurry with it.
that was Kitty Girl with my very special guest, Mr. Mark Byers, here in studio with me. Such a fun song. So talk to me about RuPaul World of Wonder. You said Willem brought you together. Willem, talk about what was the first project you worked with them, and how's that been collaborating with all these queens now?
All these queens. Good question. So, yeah, it all started with Willem, who I met at a party before Willem was on Drag Race, and she needed help with a song that she was working on, and I was like, that sounds fun, I'll do that. And then it kind of branched out into DWV, the girl group that she started, and then other queens, and then Willem was on Drag Race, so then it became like lots of Drag Race queens. But the working with Ru directly came about before working with World of Wonder. So I had made a song with Chi Chi LaRue called So What Happened Was, and Ru, being friends with Chi Chi, heard that song and was like, who made this? I want to work with this person. So I got a call out of the blue one day from Ru. I didn't answer because I was like, I don't know who this is. So I got a voicemail that was like, hi, Mark, this is RuPaul.
No way. That's got to be wild.
Yeah, just like out of nowhere. So we met up just to like have a little chat and then decided to work on some stuff. And then that stuff ended up being used in the show. So yeah, it unfolded into these sort of remix versions of the songs with the cast, like Katie Girl did, and Super Queen, and a couple other ones. And then World of Wonder has come to me for a couple other things, just like odds and ends music-wise for their various seasons. It's like so fun, and I love the show. I feel like it's the most entertaining show. Like it's hard to not like just grin nonstop while watching it. So it's kind of amazing to be on set and be involved and make things happen. Like use my skills to help out an effort like that. It's just like, what?
That's fantastic. I mean, and good on everyone over there for making it as popular it is, right? I mean, RuPaul was popular on her own, obviously, on his own, whichever you want to call it. But just the way the show is just taken off and now Emmy winning and everything, it's just such a tip of the hat for the professionalism and the fun and the camp and everything all at once. I mean, that's got to be a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah. It's so fun and campy and also important culturally. So it's kind of surreal to be involved.
I love that. And then you work on a movie like The Farewell. Talk about doing something like that, a little more kind of serious. Aquafina, I love. I never saw this movie. It's based on a Chinese family. The story's about a Chinese family and their grandma. Do you think ethnically at all in the music? Is it going by the scenes? Do you kind of try to do any Asian influence if you happen to get a movie, not just this one, but any movie that has a certain theme of some kind? Does that come into your thinking at all when you're composing?
No, this was completely like the Rough Night storyline. It was completely made like at the direction of the production because they needed something very specific. And so I was tasked with finding someone who could write in Chinese and sing in Chinese. And there was an existing song that we were sort of targeting without infringing on the copyright of, because the singer of that song was in trouble with the Chinese government, and it would be improper to use that song in the film. So I think they could have licensed it, but they would have been in trouble. It would have looked bad. So Yeah, so I had this like unlikely task of creating a song in Chinese, which I had not done before, and using all these influences of the reference song. So I had to do some research and some talent search. But
Wow.
it was really fun, and we created this little team of the writer and the singer and me, and we're sending off demos, and
Right.
yeah, it went over well. And the song, I mean, the song that we worked on is not super featured. You know, there's a lot of conversation over it, but it's during an important scene and it plays for like 2 or 3 minutes. It's like a lot of the song, but
Wow.
it's very backgroundy. But you know, the three of us went to see it and we're just like geeking out, of course, about that scene,
Nice.
which probably doesn't get a lot of direct attention from the average viewer.
But you're proud of it, damn it. That's all that's important. I like that. You got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Going back to RuPaul and the drag queens and everything, how do you see the intersectionality of music and activism, especially like in the context of LGBTQ community? Or do you think of that when you're writing things? Do some of the queens or anybody you're writing for ask you to have that in mind? Talk about that a little bit if you can.
That's an interesting question that could be answered, I feel like, in various ways. I don't think of myself as being particularly an activist, although I do obviously believe in like the cause of
Well, of course.
LGBTQ plus people and yeah, and just human rights in general. And but I guess I see myself as sort of like most effective when I can transmit someone else's message effectively. So I do like it when someone has a message that, you know, like an activism message that they want to convey through music, and I can do it well for them so that their message comes across correctly and like with impact. And I kind of think, to me, it feels better than than like throwing my own hat in the ring and trying to like directly affect change, if that makes sense.
No, that's a good answer. I mean, and you're right. You are working for the artist or the company or whatever you're working for, so you want their point of view to come across. I didn't necessarily mean your activism, but you're right. Just kind of, do you see, like Ginger Minge does "I Am What I Am," which is obviously written for a play, but there's it's great when you kind of see songs like that. And as you said, if
Yeah.
someone comes to you for it, it's something that you can put together. So I love that's at least a possibility that's out there.
Yeah. Like Nina West comes to mind, who you mentioned, because she makes a lot of music for young people and like
Right.
young queer kids or questioning kids, just to have some sort of positive messaging and encouragement and like something people can identify with. And so that music is rewarding to work on because of that message. But I would say it's like, I also like making dumb songs about nothing that are just fun, that are giving someone like a moment of joy. So I think they both have a place, and it is rewarding to work with someone who has a message that I believe in.
There you go. And have Teletubbies and WAP on the reverse B side. I like that.
It's very important work.
Now, do you have a memorable moment or project in your career that kind of stands out to you? What's some of your highlights that stand out to you that you look back on and think about?
Oh boy. Well, the World of Wonder moments are among my favorites for sure. I love working with that crew and being on set and then meeting the queens and all of that. These couple movie moments that you mentioned have been really fun. I think the more collaborative moments where there's a bigger team involved, like for a movie or a show, are especially thrilling to me. And also, I feel like I should give a shout out to James Whiteside, who is a principal dancer in the American Ballet Theater in New York. And has a pop persona called JB Dubs, and he has like really incredible pop song ideas that I've worked with him on a
Nice.
bunch. We've done like many songs together, but he's so much fun to work with, and it's all like outside the box and really sassy and very gay, and it's since he hasn't come up yet, I wanted to say it's like it's always a highlight working with him.
That's awesome. Now, I don't know if I'll cut this out or not, but I saw in your demo reel you have Britney Spears trailer to her book. Is that something you worked on, or is that something you just enjoyed because of her book coming out?
Oh, I did work on that. So
That's
I created.
amazing then. I love that. I just didn't know if that was a fun project for you to do or if it was actually part of her book deal. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a project that kind of came out of left field for me. But it was someone I had worked with before in a different context, in a different company, who now works for the company that produced that trailer. So I got involved and created that cover of I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman, on which the book title is based. So yeah, the idea was sort of to trailerize that song and give it some emotional impact, and it was really fun to do.
It came
I
out
mean,
great. I encourage everyone to go watch it when we give your website in a bit. But yeah, that was fun. Good job on that. I like
thank you. Yeah, I didn't see the trailer beforehand, so I just created the song and then they used it. But as opposed to like me creating the song to the timeline of the trailer.
Right.
But yeah, I loved how it came out, and it's crazy because Britney Spears. I was like, what?
How fun. I couldn't tell. I mean, as a fellow gay boy and everything, I wasn't sure if it was a fan thing you did or an actual project because it didn't really say either way. So I
Yeah,
wasn't sure.
well, yes, my wording should have been more clear because I posted about it and I said that I scored a Britney Spears trailer, but I think some people interpreted that as like I scored it, like I did it. And they're like, "What did you do?" So it's like, no, I like created the score that's in the trailer. So
I
yes.
love that. Now, how do you stay inspired and keep your music kind of fresh? In like the music industry is constantly evolving. You have so many things going on in it. Everything's like before you would have full instrumentation in a studio at the bottom of Capitol Records. Now you have people in Austria doing things. Sometimes you have just electronic stuff, samples. How do you kind of keep yourself inspired with all the different styles of music out there
Yeah, I think that's hard because there's so much now. It's so overwhelming.
now? Right.
So many talented people have so much access to creating music and getting it out there. So I have to make a concerted effort to stay informed, I feel like. But also, there is definitely something to be said for like shutting off the input of everyone else's work and just focusing on your output and doing something that like maybe is filtered through what all the input has been, but also just doing something that is like fun and cool according to yourself in your own weird mind. And I've had the opportunity to do that more in some recent projects, so that's been rewarding. Just being
Nice.
weird and doing whatever, it doesn't have to like be a chart topping song. It's like,
I love that. Yeah, that's great.
but I think that makes it more commercially viable sometimes if you're willing to get weird and break some boundaries.
Experimentation pays off. That's for damn sure. Not every time, but it does from every
Yeah.
now and then. So I love that. Well, we got to start wrapping it up. I mean, the entertainment industry is always so fickle about what you're allowed to say. Is there any upcoming projects that you're particularly proud of that you can talk about, or anything you're looking forward to working on that you can talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm allowed to say things about what I'm working on. I'm working with Sherry Vine, who's a drag queen who is amazing and has been working for many years lots of parodies and lots of fun, like Vegas style showgirl stuff. And she is doing season 3 of the Sherry Vine variety show, which will be on Out TV. Which includes, it's sort of like a comedy sketch. Well, it's a variety show, but there's a lot of comedy and silly stuff.
Right.
And musical numbers. So we did 5, I do believe, last year for season 2, and we're working on 5 different songs for this upcoming season.
How fun.
Yeah, she's delightful, so that's always a great time. And then I'm also working with Tammy Brown of season 1 fame from RuPaul's Drag Race on a couple songs, which is it's very fun because her style is out there and very unique. So yeah, I'm excited about those. And those all need to be wrapped up very quickly. And then 2024 is who knows?
There you go.
We'll see.
The world keeps spinning. It'll come at you. It'll come at you for sure.
Yeah. I'm having some ideas of where I want to go.
Now, if you ever want to do a 1.5-minute little podcast intro, I'm here. If you think of anything for Left of Str8, go for it. Mark Byers, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for taking your time to call in today.
Thanks so much, Scott. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you for allowing me to talk about myself for an hour.
Well, we're all interested, and you've done some amazing projects, my friend. Now, people want to follow along to see what else is going on. Give them your website, because it does show some highlights of some great projects you've worked on, and also where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, it's pretty much all Markaholic. So it's markaholic.com, and then Markaholic on Instagram. And I don't really use Twitter, but in theory.
Does anyone really do Twitter anymore? Do you really want to?
Some very old tweets you can find from Markaholic.
There you go.
All
right, Mark Byers, stay on the line for me, guys. We're going to have a special 5 questions with Mark next Tuesday. Be sure to look for that. We appreciate you tuning in every Thursday and Friday for our Left of Str8 Show interviews. Always impressed to have such great people like Mark stop by, so be sure to look for us. Follow us on all your favorite podcast distributors so you can watch it on Spotify podcasts or YouTube. We appreciate you and have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.